Hey, so today we're going to be doing order of operations, which is something that you should have done last year, maybe even the year before. We can remember order of operations by please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. We're going to do any parentheses or groupings, and then exponents, multiplication, division, and then addition and subtraction. If your problem has only multiplication and division in it, just go left to right. Same with addition and subtraction. So if there's only addition and subtraction in your problem, go left to right. Don't do addition before subtraction or division before multiplication if that's all that's in it. Now, sometimes with the order of operations, you can do more than one step at a time if you know that it's not going to affect anything else. But for right now, I want you to show every single step. So please do not just jump to something because that's when we start making mistakes. And order of operations, you will use this anytime you just have a normal problem with a bunch of numbers that you need to simplify or solve. It won't be exactly the same with equations, but it is with expressions like what we're going to see today. So this first example says evaluate, so we're going to solve it. So I don't have any parentheses or groupings, so I'm going to jump to my exponents. So I'm going to literally rewrite everything except when I get to that exponent, that 2 squared, 2 times 2 is 4, plus 14. So all I did was change 2 squared to 4 in that step, and that is it. So I do want to see every single step. Next, I'm looking for multiplication or division, which I have right here. So I'm going to rewrite my 16, my minus, and then 8 divided by 4 is 2, plus 14. Now when I look, I have all addition and subtraction in the problem, which means I'm going left to right. Don't just do addition and then subtraction because it can mess up the problem. So 16 minus 2 is 14, and 14 plus 14 is 28. So that is our final answer. If you had done addition first, you would have gotten 16 minus 16, which is 0. Completely different answer. So make sure you follow the rules. Think about each step as you go. Number 2, I have parentheses, so I'm going to do that first. So rewrite everything, except when I get here, that's going to be 4. Now, in algebra, when I multiply, I like to put what I'm multiplying by in parentheses. Don't confuse that with saying, oh, I need to do parentheses first, because there's parentheses. Okay, but there's only a 4 in there. You can't do anything with just a 4. So we're going to treat that as multiplication once we get to it. So next I have some division and some multiplication. No exponent, so I'm going to go ahead and do the division multiplication. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 5 times 4 is 20. I'm going to bring down that addition sign, and then 2 plus 20 is 22. Okay, number 3, these little bracket things I think of as parentheses on steroids. They're parentheses, but they're bigger. So we're going to do everything in those brackets first, which if we look inside of these brackets, we see, oh, we have a normal parentheses. So we'll do the normal parentheses first and work our way out. So I'm going to rewrite everything, except when I get to this parenthesis, I'm going to say 2 plus 3 is 5. Now notice my parenthesis went away, so this next step, I can change these brackets to normal parentheses. Originally these were brackets because it already had normal parentheses in it, so it didn't want to confuse you with just a bunch of parenthesis signs. So now I'm going to change these brackets to normal parentheses since there are no other parentheses. And I'm going to do my exponents. So 5 squared is 25. I still have parentheses, so 32 minus 25 is 7. And again, I like to have multiplication in parentheses. It just makes things a lot easier in algebra. I don't want to use an X or a dot because it looks like a variable or a decimal. So I put it in parentheses. So 6 times 7 is 42. Okay, number 4. I don't have any parentheses. But I do have exponents. So 2 cubed, that means 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. That was on that piece of paper I gave you that very first day of school. Now, some people might say, oh, well, I have division, but how do I divide that? If you have a fraction like this where you have something to do on the top and something to do on the bottom, you kind of want to think of these as groupings. So I have the top that's grouped together and the bottom that's grouped together. That's why I put groupings right here. So 8 minus 5 is 3. 15 plus 9 is 24. Then we always want to see if we can reduce. 3 over 24 can reduce to 1/8. So when we do order of operations, we do want to follow our rules, but there's other ways to look at it. So just because this didn't have parentheses, we can think of it as a grouping, which is like having parentheses. Okay, so we're going to move down. We're going to be doing the same thing, but we're going to start off with some variables. The helpful thing is they're going to tell us this time what the variables are. So I have 3 and then x squared, so x is 4. So I'm going to put 4 squared in parentheses because this says 3 times x squared. So I'm going to do 3 times 4 squared. Don't do 3 times 4 and then square it because that would have looked like this. But it had only the x's squared, so be careful. Then I have plus, and we have 2 times y, so times 5, plus z cubed, so 3 cubed. Now you might notice I have parentheses here and I already had parentheses. If you wanted to make these outer parentheses brackets, that is perfectly fine, or you can leave it as parentheses. Now since it does have parentheses, but it's only a 5, I'm not going to worry about that yet. So I am going to jump to my exponents. Now you might say, well, I have parentheses here. Yes, you could go ahead and simplify this first, but I'm also just going to go and say that 4 squared is a 16 because it's not going to affect anything with the parentheses, so I'm okay. So I have 2 times 5 plus 3 cubed, so 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. Okay, so now I can focus on my parentheses. And if you wanted to go ahead and multiply this 3 times 16, you could. And again, you can do that because it doesn't affect this parenthesis over here. So I have 2 times 5, which is 10, plus 27. I'm going to go ahead and do this 3 times 16. A 3 times 16 is 48, plus 10 plus 27 is 37, and 48 plus 37, let's figure that out. So 8 plus 7 is 15, carry your 1. 4 plus 1 plus 3 is 8, so 85. So notice, even though some of you could have done 48 plus 37 in your mind, I went ahead and showed my work. So don't just pull out a calculator and do it. If you don't know, write it down. You also might have noticed I use these little lines. You do not have to use those. I'm just using them so you know, where did this 48 come from? Where did this 37 come from? You can see these little arrows that are pointing. Okay, last problem. We have a squared, so a was 2, so 2 squared, times 3 times b plus 5 divided by c, which is 4. So again, you might notice, well, I have parentheses in my parentheses. So if you wanted to make this parenthesis and this parenthesis bracket, you could, but you don't need to. It's up to you. Okay, so I'm going to leave this 2 squared, and then I know that 3 times 6 is 18, plus 5 divided by 4. And then I have 18 plus 15, which is 23, divided by 4. So I'm technically done with my parentheses because, again, I have parentheses here, but in this case, it's just meaning multiplication because I can't do anything with a 23. It's just going to sit there for now. 2 squared is 4. Rewrite the rest of the problem. 4 times 23 is 92. And then 92 divided by 4 is going to give me 23. So if you didn't know that 92 divided by 4 is 23, write it out. Do a little bit of long division. So 4 goes into 9 twice, which is 8. 4 goes into 12 3 times. So that's where I got my 23. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. But this should be a review, so hopefully it wasn't too bad.